The maid with twins locked in bathroom by the housekeeper, until the millionaire uncovered the truth. Martha's furious scream shattered the silence of the mansion, slicing through the stillness that had only been marked by the ticking of a wall clock. "Get out of here, you shameless woman!" she roared, her voice filled with venom. Martha, who had lived in this house for over 20 years as the trusted housekeeper and nanny, clutched Isabella's thin arm and dragged her down the hallway toward the small laundry room. In Isabella's arms, her 3-month-old twin boys burst into terrified cries, frightened by the violent scene unraveling before them. "Mrs. Martha, please calm down," Isabella pleaded, shielding her babies. Her eyes were wide with panic. "I don't understand what's happening." "Don't play innocent with me. I saw you holding Mr. Carter's golden watch, the one that belonged to his father." Martha's voice dripped with rage, her eyes sharp with malice. Isabella froze. That watch had always remained on the wooden shelf in the living room, a piece she cleaned carefully every morning. But now it was gone. She swore she had never touched it. I didn't take anything. I swear on the lives of my children." Isabella's voice trembled with desperation. "Oh, swearing now?" Martha sneered, then shoved Isabella inside the cramped laundry room along with her babies. The door slammed shut, and the lock clicked tight. Inside, Isabella almost collapsed onto the cold floor. The room had no windows, only a faint yellow bulb overhead. Her babies cried until their voices turned hoarse, tiny stomachs aching with hunger. It was already feeding time. Isabella cradled them close, humming a lullaby through sobs. But her throat was too tight, and the words broke into gasps. Outside the door, Martha leaned against the wood. For a fleeting second, guilt pricked her chest. The baby's cries pierced through her defenses. But she quickly steeled herself. "This is for Andrew. He must see the truth about this woman. If not, she will take everything from me." Isabella's mind raced back to the first day she entered the mansion. Andrew Carter, the successful attorney and widower, had looked her in the eye and spoken firmly. "This house is my refuge. I need someone to take care of things, but I can't have noise or trouble." Back then, Isabella nodded earnestly. "You'll barely notice me and the children. I just need this job to raise them." And for the first weeks, she kept her promise. But slowly, Andrew began to notice. He came down to the kitchen more often, lingered longer around the twins, and smiled more than before. Martha had seen it all. Now, trapped in the dim room, Isabella whispered to her babies, "Don't be afraid, my little angels. I'll never leave you. I've done nothing wrong. Once Mr. Carter comes back, the truth will come out." Yet deep down, fear clawed at her heart. What if he believes Martha? What if he thinks I'm a thief? The infant's cries echoed through the house. The mansion, once a sanctuary, had become a prison. And just beyond the locked door, Martha waited patiently, rehearsing her lies, ready for Andrew's return. The familiar sound of the garage door echoed through the quiet mansion. Andrew Carter's sleek car rolled into the stone-paved driveway. The clock struck nearly 6, earlier than his usual return. Martha straightened at once, taking a deep breath and adjusting her stern appearance in the hallway mirror. "This is my chance," she told herself. "If he believes me, Isabella will be gone from this house forever." The door opened. Andrew stepped inside, removing his coat, his face weary from a long day in court. "Good evening, Martha," he greeted calmly. "Good evening, Mr. Carter." She bowed slightly, then lowered her voice with heavy seriousness. "There's something I must tell you, something very serious." Andrew paused in the hallway, his hands tugging at his tie. "What is it?" "It's about Isabella." Martha hesitated, then sighed deeply. "Your father's golden watch. It's gone." Andrew's brows furrowed. "Gone?" "I caught her rummaging through the wooden shelf in the living room. When I confronted her, she grew nervous, trying to hide something. And right after that, the watch was no longer there. Martha delivered the words smoothly, like lines she had rehearsed dozens of times. Andrew remained silent for a long moment. In the 2 months Isabella had worked here, she had shown nothing but dedication, gentle, careful, loving with her children. Yet Martha had been by his side for over 20 years, never once deceiving him. "Where is she now?" he finally asked. "I had to lock her in the laundry room with the babies. She panicked and tried to run. You know how desperate mothers can do anything." Martha lowered her gaze, her tone carrying false weight of responsibility. Andrew froze. "You locked her in there? With 2 infants? For how long?" "About 2 hours." 2 hours? His voice rose, eyes widening. From down the hallway came the muffled cries of the babies, hoarse from exhaustion, mixed with Isabella's trembling lullaby. Andrew strode quickly toward the end of the corridor. "Give me the key." "Mr. Carter, I think we should discuss this first." "The key!" His voice snapped cold and commanding. Martha's hand shook as she pulled the key from her pocket. He jammed it into the lock and turned. The door swung open, and the sight inside crushed him. On the cold tiles, Isabella sat hunched against the wall, her face streaked with tears. Daniel clung desperately to her breast, while Darius wailed in her trembling arm. Her voice, raw from sobbing, broke as she tried to sing a lullaby. Every note a plea, every word soaked in despair and love. The scene seared itself into Andrew's soul, leaving no doubt this was not the face of a thief, but of a mother fighting to shield her children at any cost. "Oh, dear God," Andrew whispered. At the sound of his voice, Isabella lifted her head. Her eyes shone with desperation, but also with a flicker of hope. "Mr. Carter, please, believe me. I didn't take the watch. I would never do such a thing." Andrew studied her silently. There was something in the way she clung to her children, in her trembling yet sincere voice, that stirred a powerful certainty inside him. Behind him, Martha tried to cut in. "Mr. Carter, don't be fooled. She's a master at pretending." But Andrew didn't answer. Instead, he crouched down, gently lifting Darius from Isabella's arms. The infant nestled against his chest, his cries softening almost instantly. In that moment, Andrew knew he had to uncover the truth. That evening, after releasing Isabella and her babies from the laundry room, Andrew remained silent for a long time. He said nothing to Martha, only gave her a look that forced her to lower her eyes in shame. Isabella carried her children back to their room, while Andrew stayed in the living room, his mind restless. The image kept replaying in his head. Isabella sitting on the cold floor, still singing a lullaby through tears. A mother like that, how could she be a thief, he thought. In the following days, Andrew began to notice Isabella more closely. He would find excuses to come downstairs for late coffee or pass by the nursery at night. Each time he stumbled upon scenes that silenced his heart. One night, Daniel was crying from stomach pain. Isabella gently laid him across her lap, moving her small hand in slow circles over his belly. Andrew stepped inside quietly. "Sorry for the noise. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay," he said. Isabella looked up, slightly flustered. "It's fine, Mr. Carter. He's just gassy. This helps him feel better." Andrew sat beside the crib, watching. Within minutes, Daniel's cries faded, his eyelids drooping into sleep. "You're very good at this," Andrew murmured. Isabella gave a modest smile. "Any mother learns. It's just practice, over and over again." In the mornings, Andrew often saw Isabella on the wooden porch chair, holding Darius in her lap, humming softly. Her simple figure, the tenderness in her eyes as she looked at her child, gave him a peace he hadn't felt in years. Martha noticed the change, too. She saw Andrew pausing longer in the kitchen, overheard him asking small questions. "How are the boys today? Did they sleep well?" And she recognized the unusual warmth in his gaze whenever he looked at Isabella. In Martha's heart, jealousy flared. She had given her youth to the Carter household, raised Andrew from boy to man, always believing she was the only woman by his side. And now, within mere months, a young woman and her children threatened to take that place. One late afternoon, Andrew held Darius in the living room while Isabella rocked Daniel nearby. The house glowed in the gentle gold of the setting sun. Darius clutched the buttons of Andrew's shirt, giggling softly. Andrew glanced at Isabella. For a fleeting moment, he felt his heart stir in an unfamiliar way. It wasn't pity. It was a bond, deep and undeniable. Isabella lifted her eyes and met his gaze. Her heart raced, and she quickly looked away. She knew the line between employer and servant, yet she couldn't deny the rare safety his presence brought her. The moment passed swiftly, but it planted a seed of affection, one that would make everything far more complicated than before. Martha could no longer bear it. From the kitchen doorway, she watched Andrew on the porch, leaning close to speak with Isabella while she held Darius. They laughed softly together, and little Daniel slept peacefully nearby. The sight pierced Martha's heart. For 20 years, she had believed this house was her world, that Andrew would always need only her. But now, within mere months, a young woman with 2 children had changed everything. That night, Martha tossed restlessly on her old attic bed. "If I do nothing, she'll take it all. This house, Mr. Carter, even my future. No, I cannot let that happen." The next morning, as Isabella dusted the living room, Martha stepped in quietly. "Careful with that shelf," she remarked with heavy meaning. Isabella looked up, surprised. "Of course, I always wipe it gently. I know that watch means a lot." Martha pressed her lips together, pretending to turn away. When Isabella went into the small bathroom to change Daniel's diaper, Martha swiftly snatched the golden watch from the shelf. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes gleamed with determination. She slipped it into her pocket and hurried upstairs. In her room, she tucked the watch beneath folded towels in a drawer. Looking down, she whispered, "Forgive me, Andrew, but I must protect you from deceit." That afternoon, Martha began sowing whispers throughout the neighborhood. At the grocery store, she leaned close to the shopkeeper. "The young woman working at the Carter house, I don't mean to speak ill, but she doesn't seem trustworthy. I once saw her with valuable items." The shopkeeper's eyes widened. "Really? She looks so sweet." Martha sighed, feigning regret. Appearances can be deceiving. Who knows what she's really after? By the end of the day, rumors had spread. In the pharmacy, the cafe, even at the small market, people murmured about Isabella, the young mother who might not be as innocent as she seemed. That evening, when Andrew returned home, Martha greeted him with a troubled face. "Mr. Carter, I hate to interfere, but are you sure you can trust Isabella? I've heard some unsettling things around the neighborhood." Andrew stopped short. "What things?" "That she's taken items from other places, that she seeks out wealthy men to depend on." Martha bowed her head, her voice heavy with false sorrow. Andrew fell silent, his grip tightening on his leather briefcase. He didn't want to believe it, yet the whispers pressed like thorns into his chest. The image of Isabella's tenderness remained vivid, but Martha's doubts echoed louder and louder in his mind. In the dark of her room, Martha allowed herself a cold smile. She believed the seed of doubt had been planted, and once doubt took root, young love could never survive. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the mansion shifted. Andrew remained courteous, as always, but there was something different in his eyes when he looked at Isabella, something quiet, watchful, even probing. Isabella felt the change keenly. One morning, as she prepared bottles for the twins, Andrew suddenly asked, "Are you struggling financially, Isabella? Do you need an advance on your pay?" She froze, her hands pausing on the bottle. "No, Mr. Carter. What you pay is enough for me and the boys. I don't like owing anyone." Andrew nodded slightly, but his gaze lingered on her every move. Similar questions came more often. "Don't you ever want to buy new clothes for the children? Is there nothing you'd like for yourself?" Each time, Isabella forced a faint smile. "They still fit their clothes. No need for more yet. As for me, all I need is this job." Inside, her heart ached. Clearly, Andrew was doubting her. The rumors outside had planted seeds of suspicion. One evening, after putting the twins to bed, Isabella could bear it no longer. She stepped into the living room where Andrew was reading files and spoke directly. "Mr. Carter, do you believe I took the watch?" Andrew looked up, his eyes flickering with unease. "Why would you ask that?" "Because these past days you've been testing me. I can feel it. If you truly think I'm a thief, then I'll leave with my children." Her voice trembled, but her gaze was firm. Andrew set down the papers, silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Isabella, I don't want you to leave, but I must admit, I've doubted. Not because of anything I saw, but because of what I heard. Martha said things. Neighbors whispered." Isabella gave a bitter laugh, tears brimming. "So a few rumors are enough to shake your trust." She turned, heading toward her room to pack, but Andrew's voice rang out behind her, urgent. "Wait, don't go, I was wrong." Isabella stopped, not turning back. "Wrong to what extent?" Andrew took a trembling breath and stepped closer. Slowly, he pulled a small brass key from his pocket and pressed it into her palm, curling her fingers over it. "This opens my study, where I keep every contract, every bank card, even the safe. If I ever doubt you again, if I ever let suspicion poison us, then take this key, empty it all, and leave. That is the only way I can show you that my trust in you is absolute." Isabella stared at the cold metal in her palm. Tears spilled down her cheeks, a mix of hurt and emotion. "Mr. Carter, you're insane." Andrew shook his head gently. "No, I just don't want to lose you and the children." In that moment, though wounds remained, an invisible thread bound them together. Yet neither knew that beyond that door, Martha had not given up, and the real storm was only just beginning. After the night he gave Isabella the key, Andrew couldn't sleep. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The whispers in the neighborhood, Isabella's tears, Martha's cold smile, all tangled in his mind. At last, he decided to act. He called a private investigator recommended by a colleague. "I need everything about Martha, her work history, the family she served." Within days, the report arrived. Andrew's hands tightened as he read. In 3 previous households, similar stories unfolded. Employees accused of theft, evidence conveniently planted. Each time, Martha remained behind as the trusted servant. Andrew gripped the papers. So from the start, it was her. That evening, he whispered to Isabella in the quiet kitchen, "We have to expose her, but we need undeniable proof." Isabella's face paled. "How will we do that?" "We'll stage a play. You'll pretend to be angry, pack up, and leave. I'll act desperate. She'll come back, and then I'll make her confess." Isabella bit her lip, then nodded. "If that's the only way." The plan began Friday morning. Isabella stormed toward the door with the twins in her arms, shouting, "I can't take this anymore. You don't trust me. I'm leaving." Andrew played his part, voice raised. "Isabella, please let me explain." "No need. I'll take my children and never return." Their voices echoed across the street. Neighbors peeked through curtains. A taxi waited at the curb. Isabella climbed in with the babies, turning her face away to hide her fear. As the car rolled off, Martha watched from the third-floor window. A triumphant smile spread across her lips. Finally, she's gone. That afternoon, Martha returned to the main house. She didn't knock, simply pushed open the gate. Andrew sat in the living room, feigning despair. "Martha," he murmured, "I heard Isabella left. I told you she was only using you." She sat down, eyes glinting with satisfaction. Andrew sighed, pressing a hand to his head. "Maybe you were right. I only regret my father's watch." Martha stiffened but quickly composed herself. "Mr. Carter, I'm certain she took it. I saw her." Andrew looked up, his gaze piercing. "Saw her? Are you sure?" Martha swallowed. I saw her searching, and then the watch disappeared." "But it was you who took it, wasn't it?" Andrew's words fell slowly, like stones. Martha leapt up, voice cracking. "No, I only hid it to protect you. If I hadn't, she would have stolen it for real." Andrew's tone stayed steady. "Tell the truth, Martha. The hired lies, the rumors around the neighborhood, all of it was you." Her face drained of color. Her hands trembled. In an instant, the fortress she had built for 20 years collapsed. "Yes!" Martha's cry cracked through the room. Her shoulders shook violently. "It was me. I took the watch. I spun the lies. Because I love you, Andrew. For 20 years, every breath, every heartbeat belonged to you. And then she came with her children, and in a few months, she stole what I had guarded for decades. Everything that should have been mine." Her voice cracked, torn between pain and madness. Andrew remained still, then slowly drew his phone from his pocket. He held up the glowing red recording app. Martha froze. You recorded—" At that moment, the back door opened. Isabella stepped inside, no luggage in sight. She carried Daniel, with Darius, in a small crib. Martha's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible! You left!" Isabella met her gaze, calm and firm. "Yes, I left, but only as part of the plan." Andrew added, his voice resolute. "We have every word of your confession, Martha." Martha collapsed into the chair, burying her face in her hands. Everything she had hidden for decades had unraveled in a trap she never saw coming. The next morning, Andrew brought the recording and the investigator's report to the police station. The inspector listened carefully, his expression hardening. "This is clear evidence," he said. "False accusations, planted proof, spreading lies. We'll move forward with prosecution." Isabella stood nearby, holding the twins, her heart trembling yet relieved. She had never imagined the truth could be laid bare so undeniably. On the day of trial, Martha appeared in a plain gray dress, her graying hair disheveled. The arrogance she once carried was gone. When the prosecutor played the recording, her voice echoed through the courtroom. "Yes, it was me. I took the watch. I made it all up, because I love him." The room fell silent. Martha lowered her head, tears streaking her cheeks. Her lawyer argued it was only an act of misguided affection, not meant to harm. But the judge shook his head. Love cannot justify destroying the innocent. The defendant spread pain and put children at risk. In the end, Martha was sentenced to 18 months in prison, with a restraining order preventing her from contacting the Carter family afterward. As they left the courthouse, Isabella gripped Andrew's hand tightly. "I never thought it would end like this." Andrew looked at her with steady eyes. "No, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning for us." In the weeks that followed, the mansion slowly returned to peace. The cries of Darius and Daniel mixed with laughter, forming the new rhythm of life. Andrew began coming home earlier, not just for rest, but to spend time with the twins and with Isabella. One evening, as they sat on the porch, Andrew cradled Darius while Isabella soothed Daniel. He spoke softly. "Isabella, there's something I want to ask. I don't just want to protect you as an employer. I want to raise the children with you. I want a family?" Isabella froze, then lifted her eyes. Fear and hope mingled within them. "Mr. Carter, are you sure? I'm only a single mother. I have nothing." Andrew smiled gently. "You have everything. You have a strong heart, and you have these two little angels. All I want is to be part of that." Tears spilled down Isabella's cheeks, but this time they were tears of joy. That day the sky seemed brighter than ever. The storm had passed, and from the wreckage a new seed was planted, the seed of a true family. A year after the trial, the Carter mansion had changed. No more dark shadows, no more whispers of suspicion. Instead, laughter filled the halls, Darius and Daniel's bright giggles, peace in every corner. And at last, the day came. Adrian Carter and Isabella were to be married. The ceremony was held in the small garden behind the mansion, where roses bloomed in full. Isabella wore a simple yet radiant white dress, holding a bouquet of daisies. Adrian stood in a gray suit, his eyes soft, fixed on the woman he chose to be his life partner. Darius and Daniel, now almost 3, toddled down the grassy path as little groomsmen. When they giggled and tossed petals into the air, everyone laughed along. "Adrian Carter, do you take Isabella as your wife, promising to love and cherish her for life?" the officiant asked. "I do," Adrian said firmly. "And you, Isabella, do you take Adrian, promising to raise your children together and build a family with him?" Isabella's eyes shimmered with tears. "I do." When they kissed, the garden erupted with applause. Months later, Adrian finalized the legal adoption of Darius and Daniel. In court, the boys were too young to understand, but they ran into his arms, chirping, "Papa." Isabella wept openly. Adrian held all 3 close, whispering, "From today, we truly are a family." Time passed, and their love only deepened. A year later, Isabella gave birth to a daughter, little Zenny, with soft hair and star-bright eyes. Darius and Daniel circled the crib, arguing over who would hold her first. "I'll protect her," Darius declared. "Me too," Daniel added. Isabella gazed at her 3 children and Adrian, her heart brimming with joy. Their family was now whole, built on trials endured and love strong enough for the future. Elsewhere in the city, Martha stepped out of prison at last. She no longer looked proud, only weary, her hair now entirely gray. In those long months behind bars, she had thought deeply. She wrote journals, attended counseling sessions, and for the first time faced herself honestly. She realized what she had felt for Adrian had never been love. It was selfish obsession. She resolved to leave the city, heading for a small rural town to start anew. Before departing, Martha went near the Carter mansion one last time. She stood far off behind the trees. Through the window, she saw Adrian cradling baby Zenny, Isabella smiling beside him, while Darius and Daniel ran circles around them, their laughter echoing. The scene glowed like a painting of happiness. Tears welled in Martha's eyes, regret and a flicker of release. She whispered hoarsely, "I'm sorry. Be happy." Then she turned and walked away. Inside the house, Adrian kissed Isabella's hair and murmured, "Do you see? After everything, we truly have a family now." Isabella nodded, holding him tight. Outside, the sunset bathed the sky in gold, shining upon the faces of a joyful family, a closing and a new beginning. 10 years had passed since Martha left the city. Time, like a flowing river, carried away the storms of the past, leaving only warmth and laughter within the Carter mansion. Darius and Daniel were now 13-year-old boys. Once small enough to fit in Isabella's arms, they had grown tall, their voices cracking, their eyes bright with curiosity. They often quarreled fiercely over the smallest things, who got the ball first, who cleaned their room faster, but minutes later they would be seen laughing, their bond stronger than ever. Between them was a tie only twins could understand. Zenny, the family's little princess, was 9. She carried Isabella's sparkling eyes and Adrian's gentle smile. She loved to sing and dance, often sitting among the roses, humming sweet melodies. Each time her voice drifted through the garden, Adrian would look up from his desk as if the entire world had been lit anew. Adrian remained busy with work, yet he never broke his promise. No matter his schedule, every evening he returned home to share dinner with his family. Isabella, still as gentle as ever, now bore the calm strength of a woman who had walked through storms and found peace. She was no longer the struggling single mother she once had been, but a wife, a mother, the keeper of their family's flame. One summer afternoon, the family gathered in the garden. Darius and Daniel fought over the soccer ball, their shouts blending with bursts of laughter. Zenny sat on a wooden chair, reading aloud a new poem for her mother, her voice lilting like a song. Isabella's eyes shone with pride. Adrian slipped his arm around his wife and whispered, "Do you remember when we feared everything might fall apart?" Isabella leaned her head on his shoulder, smiling. "I do, but you turned that fear into my anchor." In that moment, time seemed to pause. Only the rustle of leaves and the fragrance of roses remained, wrapping them in peace. That night, after the children were asleep, Isabella opened her old journal. Its pages had thickened with years of memories, moments of joy, sorrow, and triumph. She paused, her mind drifting to a distant face. "Martha," she whispered. That woman now felt like a closed book, a shadow long faded. Yet deep inside, Isabella knew, without that darkness, they might never have learned how precious their light truly was. Adrian entered and saw her lost in thought. He sat beside her. "You're thinking of her?" Isabella nodded. "I've forgiven her. Perhaps those painful trials are what made us this strong." Adrian squeezed her hand. "Martha chose her path, and we chose love." They sat together in silence, their joined hands affirming once again that this family would never waver. Years later, with Darius and Daniel off to college and Zenny preparing for middle school, the Carter home still rang with laughter. Every weekend they kept their tradition, gathering in the garden, grilling food, sharing stories of the week. One golden sunset, Isabella sat on the old wooden chair, watching Adrian laugh with their children. The light bathed their faces, and her heart swelled with unspeakable gratitude. "This," she thought, tears warming her eyes, "is the greatest treasure of my life." Not wealth, not victories, not the grand walls of the mansion, but this laughter, these arms around her, this love that had survived storms. After all the loss, the struggles, the scars, what endured was family, and family was everything.